Yeah, I have. There is a scholar and activist named Loretta Ross, and she wrote an op-ed in the New York Times. She also went to Agnes Scott College, um, but her op-ed in the New York Times is about calling in versus calling out. And I have really loved. She's been doing a series of lectures and workshops, and it's all about. She says like we our impulse is to call out somebody when they disagree with us. And so she is framing this, and how do we call people in? How do we call on them to try on a different viewpoint? And how do we call them in? And she's very specific, she's very intentional that this work is not only doing when it feels safe,
Mm.
only when you feel like there can be alignment. She's like, I'm not calling on you to like, you do not need to call in someone who's part of the KKK. Like you do not need to go, those things, but calling in people who you see that there is some alignment where
Mhm.
they really do see that our liberation is bound together.
Mm.
How do we get through these issues where there is some sticking points and really find like we're in the human rights movement together.
Mhm.
And so I think about that a lot. And so where I have kind of landed is that I can agree to disagree in some issues, but we need to think that the problems are the same. How we
Mm.
get there, I'm fine. Like we can disagree on how we get there. But if police killing unarmed Black men is not a problem for you, like I don't know how we can agree to disagree. But we can say, okay, I don't think we should abolish the police, but I think this reform should happen. Like how we get to solving this issue, that's what we can agree to disagree on. Like we don't see it all the same way. But I have found that for my own sense of boundaries and mental
Mm.
health, like we have to have some agreement and alignment on where we see issues are and where we see problems are and where we see people being oppressed and marginalized, and being able to move on from there. Because I have people in my kitchen table who have completely different thoughts about how we solve a problem, and I think we're going to have that. But I think some commonality on what the problems are has been important to me.
That's a really good word, Zena. I think that's really important. It's a really good example of setting a boundary for your own self-care. And one of the things that in my pastoral ministry that I find myself, the drum that I'm just beating over and over and over, is Jesus didn't tell us just to deny ourselves. Jesus said, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Mhm.
And we really are called to take care of ourselves. We it's easy to just kind of get into this guilty sort of, oh, I should just love everyone, get along with everyone. And I don't think we're called to that. I think we're called to take care of ourselves as well. Yeah. That's really important. The other thing I was going to say, just thinking about this question, is I really encourage people and myself to learn to listen to my own body.
Mm.
And when I'm in a conversation and my heart starts to race
Mhm.
and my stomach starts to feel weird, for me to say, okay, what's going on? What's going on with me? What am I reacting to? Because once that happens, I'm probably not either it's a situation that I should probably step away from, take a
Mm.
little time, maybe I should reevaluate the space that I'm in, or I'm going to react to someone in a way that I don't really want to react because I'm getting worked up. And for a long time, I didn't realize that my body was going to give me cues, but it does. I learned that in a marriage seminar 10 years ago, that like talking to your spouse, notice when you start to get physically, you feel it in your body and think, oh, okay, wait a minute, we need to take a different path here.